Hello everyone, it's John Easton again here, and I'd like to welcome each and every one of you to our webinar today. The topic for discussion is going to be Maximizer CRM versus the Maximizer CRM Wealth Manager. So I have a great pleasure today in presenting to many of you for the first time, as I understand. This is going to be your first look at the Maximizer Wealth Manager product that we brought to market about 4 years ago now. The majority of the attendees to today's webinar almost across the board are all persons that work in the financial services industry. So each and every one of you is either in wealth planning or wealth management, do investments, you do mortgages, or you're in the insurance business. And so I'd like to welcome you again, and we'll get started. So as I mentioned before, my name is John Easton. I'm, for those of you that don't know me or haven't ever heard me speak, I've been with Maximizer now a little over 18 years. I was the product manager and then director of the product management department for about 14 years. And about 4.5 years ago, I started working on a product called the Maximizer Wealth Manager. And I was working with several advisors that had been using Maximizer for quite a long time, but just found that it was not able to meet their needs. And for a good part of the reason of that was they just really didn't know how to configure it. So I'm going to talk today about a couple of subjects. Looking at the agenda I'm going to talk about just in general the upgrade options that are available to each and every one of you. I know from the majority of your profiles, most of you are still using one version or another of our Windows-based product. Some of you are using our web on-premise product, and then just a very couple of you are using our cloud-based or our Maximizer CRM. I'm going to talk about the differences between the Windows and the web product in general. I'm also going to talk about the evolution of the CRM Wealth Manager and go into quite a bit of detail into what makes the Wealth Management CRM a very particular product and one that's very suitable for all professionals that work in financial services. I've got a short couple slides on how to make the switch, and then I'm going to leave time at the end for questions and answers. This will be fairly close to a 45-minute presentation. I will try to keep it to that, and I will also try to leave time for questions at the end. When you think of it, if you have a question, you can type it at any time into the questions box or the chat box that you're going to see on your control panel on your screen. So let's begin. In general, there's two upgrade paths that are available to every one of our Maximizer clients today, and those involve staying on premise or going to our cloud. And Maximizer has a data center based in Toronto. We host with a company called Tenzing, and I've been through security audits with that data center through Manulife Canada, Raymond James Canada, Raymond James US, as well as Hollis Scotia. And in all cases, the advisors that work for those 4 different firms have permission to use my cloud-based solution. You'll probably notice that I haven't said the word Windows yet as far as an upgrade path. I suspect most of you should know by now that Maximizer is discontinuing the production of its Maximizer Windows on-premise product. We will always, always, always have an on-premise product. It is just going to be in the form of browser access. And so, of course, there are two choices available to anyone wishing to stay on-premise, as there are two choices to anyone who's willing and wishing to go to our cloud. In each case, we offer a generic version of Maximizer, similar to the one that you're using, and we also offer the wealth management version of Maximizer, both on in your data center, if you will, or on your servers, as well as in my data center. For those of you that don't know, this slide is going to be changing very soon because we're going to be launching the Maximizer CRM Wealth Manager 2017, which is just going out this week to the very first customers. And the wealth management version of 2017 is going to go out 1 month behind, and November 22nd is the date we're targeting right now. So when I talk about the current deployment options, what it really looks like to you is either the left-hand side or the right-hand side. And the left-hand side is the Maximizer Web Access product that our clients, that we've put into the market since the year 2000. So we've had a web-based browser access version of Maximizer now for 16 years. Many of our clients decided to remain on the Windows product for many of the reasons we all are familiar with. Most of us are fairly resistant to change. Many of us found in the first early releases of the web product, it didn't do nearly as much as the Windows product did. It wasn't nearly as powerful. And as someone who ran the product team for a lot of years, that was one of my key driving forces with every release was to continue to make the web product more and more and more like the Windows product. And what I mean by that is to have similar functionality. You're going to hear from me today talk about a number of features that have now gone into the web product, which we did not put into the Windows product and of course never will. The left-hand side is, as I said before, it's your typical your hosting maximizer on your servers, and you're providing access to yourselves and your staff members through browsers, and that's what the red dotted line, secure web access, represents. And you can also provide secure access to anyone inside the organization that has a smartphone or tablet, and this is what the orange dotted lines represent. In both cases, there's multiple ways to configure this. Each, of course, is meant to be as secure as possible. So in some cases, this involves where you put your servers. In other cases, it involves establishing a VPN connection, which I'm sure most of you are familiar with if you're already connecting into your office from your homes. The right-hand side is the Salesforce.com model. It's the cloud. It's Maximizer's equivalent, except our cloud is a Canadian cloud, of course. I use a Canadian data center, which is very, very important to all of the Canadian customers that use Maximizer and want to make sure that their client information stays inside Canada. But the dotted lines are the same, except the only difference is you don't host the infrastructure, we host the infrastructure. We put the new upgrades on every 6 months. We're the ones responsible for making sure all the servers have the security patches. We're the ones that are responsible for the connectivity and making sure that our servers are up 24 hours a day, as well as our connections to the internet. So we take away a lot of that responsibility that many of you that are living in the on-premise world are still taking upon yourselves today, and that also includes, of course, doing daily backups. So what are some of the primary differences between the Windows and the web product? And I'm not going to go through them all, but I'm going to go through some of the bigger and some of the more important ones. This new interface you're looking at right now is actually the 2017 interface. And the difference between 2016 and 2017, some of it's going to be color, some of it's going to be graphics, and a little bit of it's navigation. But one of the main differences that all of you would realize, especially if you're in the Windows world, is that we don't have a 3-pane window, we have a 2-pane window. So we have the controlling window on the top, and we have what are called the following tabs across the bottom. Okay. We also have entirely flattened the application, and what I mean by that is we are virtually trying to eliminate all pop-ups in everywhere possible throughout the entire application. So for those of you that are familiar with the old version of Windows Maximizer, you know that when you opened up a contact record, we popped a screen up over top of the screens that you're looking at now. And within that screen, we had various tabs. One was called Basic, one was called User-Defined Fields, one was called Key Fields. And we've flattened all that down, and we've created a new tab called the Details tab, and I'll show that to you in a moment. Several advantages to doing what we've done. It's quicker to navigate. Once again, less clicks, more information in front of you. We also have given you the ability through this plus icon I'm showing here to remove the tabs that you don't wish to see. So you're seeing details, contacts, history, notes. You're seeing the custom fields, the documents and activities. There's a couple of other tabs which are missing right now, and I will introduce those to you in a few moments. But how I was able to remove them as a user was just by clicking on this plus. So we think this screen is less busy. We also think it navigates far better than the one before. A couple of other differences up in the top right-hand corner, which says search for address book entries. So I can click in here and I can type in John Easton, and it's going to search for all contacts named John Easton. And I'm going to be able to work with a drop-down right beside, which allows me to actually decide. So this is a universal search. I gave you an example of full contact name, but you could search for all clients that are from a particular city. So there's more than one way to perform a search inside this screen. On the left-hand side, you're going to see something that's called Quick Access. The Quick Access toolbar is a place where you're going to be able to put your, in Maximizer's terminology, catalog searches or save searches. So the searches that you most commonly use within Maximizer, you can create an icon, choose one of our icons, and select that search to be placed up on this Quick Access toolbar. And in doing so, what you're giving is the ability for yourself, no matter where you are in Maximizer, whatever module you're in, you're one click away from that particular list of clients or records that you're looking for. The right-hand side also one big change, and I'm just trying to move over, you're going to see a bit of an alarm icon that I brought my mouse on the very top right hand side. When I click on this, this is going to span out the alarm screen. In previous versions of Maximizer Windows, we had a pop-up screen, one alarm at a time, bling, a little alarm went off and a sound, it told you needed to do something, you clicked OK, and then we popped another one, and another one, and another one. In the web version, we then moved to the idea of let's put all the alarms together up when they pop. So we had a multi alarm screen, if you will, and when it went off, it would show you a list of all the different tasks that were due at that moment. With the latest releases now, we've completely moved that into a screen that's going to slide in and slide out on the right-hand side. And we've given you better control over the ability to snooze these alarms as well as complete them, the tasks that are associated with them. So this is the slide out screen I was describing to you on the right hand side, and you can see I've got a pin here, a pin icon, and what that would allow me to do is pin this, which means keep it here permanently until I made it disappear, or I can just hover and slide and make it disappear. The Details tab that I mentioned a moment ago was available from the Details tab here, middle of the screen. Now I've got a blow up because this is a fairly nice change that we've made. We've given you the ability to see all your basic information in one place, as well as all your what we call the key fields or key client fields, all in one place. And we've got an action menu on the right-hand side. So what we've done is we've been able to put a considerable amount more functionality into a single interface without popping all of this up over top of what you were looking at moments ago. And you can appreciate here that I can move from the Details tab to the Contacts tab to the History to the Notes to the Custom Fields and to the Documents. In the Wealth version of Maximizer, and when I get there in a few moments, you're going to see that we've renamed documents to files, because effectively Maximizer can save any file type you want against any contact record, and limiting the terminology to documents was actually a little bit confusing for our clients. But I'll show you a bit more of that later. The dashboards, all of our surveys tell us that the farther back you are on a version of Maximizer, the less likely you've been using dashboards. I'm still surprised when I hear clients say they don't use them at all. Dashboards are built on searches. So when I start to talk about the Wealth Management Edition, what you're going to find is that we've put in a lot of configuration, and dashboards are one of the areas we've configured for you already. We've also configured you the searches that our dashboards are derived from. So by me building dozens and dozens of searches, that is the programmatic code that's being used to display the result sets that you're seeing in these dashboard views. Okay, so they're very powerful. We ship with a number of them by default, and I'm going to go through a few of those in a moment. So there are a few other capabilities I wanted to go through that are only in the web product as well. One feature that we added last release and have continued to build out upon it on this release is what we call auditing. Maximizer, and we put this feature in because we made the Wealth Management Edition. We didn't have this until we got into this industry very seriously, and we heard from auditors. I heard from the auditors. I heard from compliance officers. John, one of the best things a CRM could ever do is keep track of every change that took place in the CRM. So this isn't just about when I make an appointment, let's write a note about that, or when I complete a task, let's write a note about that, because Maximizer does all that stuff. This is about when I change a record from one value to another. So you're seeing under the audit settings here that I have the ability to turn on and off auditing against the contact list, which is what we call the address book in the Wealth Edition, against the opportunities, and against the service area of the software. Right? And what type of auditing do I want to see take place? Right? I'm auditing changes to fields, I'm auditing changes to notes, I'm auditing changes to documents that are already in the system. And when we perform the audit, and I've just moved now, I'm against a client record, and I've clicked on the auditing tab, and you can see now I have a list of all the changes that have taken place against this one client record. The most beautiful part of this feature is that we keep track of what was changed. So we don't just say this record was changed and the new value is, or let's say beneficiary field was changed, new value is John. We say the beneficiary was changed on December 17th at 4 p.m. by the administrator or by John Smith, the user of the system, and he changed the value of the beneficiary field from John Easton to Mary Easton. Right? And all of that is locked down in the system as a fact. It happened. And we're the only CRM I know today in the market that actually does that. So auditing is important, especially in the financial services industry, where you're becoming so compliant, where you are subject to internal and external audits. And when you can display a system that's keeping track of all changes in your system, the auditors smile and they like what you're doing a lot. Search for user-defined field. So this functionality has been added to every single place where you have a necessity on searching on a custom field. So it could be in the dialog that you see on the left-hand side, where I'm just searching within our custom field and I want to find a particular custom field. A Maximizer, like all databases, had a challenge when you had lots and lots and lots of custom fields for the user to find the field that he was looking for. And until we put this search in, we had a lot of frustrated people who continuously called the product group and said, is there some way you can make it easier to find our custom fields? Whether I'm looking to populate one, whether I'm looking to add one into a search itself, whether I'm looking to find if there's a value against this field, all of those situations created pains for our clients, because when you had a lot of custom fields, you couldn't find them. So you're seeing a couple of the dialogues, but as I mentioned, every single place where you can search for a user-defined field now, you're actually going to be able to search before to find the particular field you're looking for. In the notes and the documents area of Maximizer, we continue to build out the filters, and the filters are becoming more and more granular, and this is as required and as requested by yourselves, the users of Maximizer. Many of the features I'm showing you so far didn't come from people that didn't ever own Maximizer. They came from people using Maximizer that said, I'd like Maximizer to be better at what it does for me. All right, so filtration was one of those. Maximizer's been in business 28 years. Maximizer, I don't want to use my CRM and look at notes that go back 25 years ago. They don't have any importance to me, likely. What I'm probably looking for is maybe the last 30 days, 6 months, 1 year, 2 years, and all of those date ranges are now available in this pick list you're seeing here that isn't expanded. You're also seeing the granularity around the different types of fields. There are different types of notes and files that are saved into the system. Okay, so again, just helping you find what you're looking for much quicker and not cluttering up lists, and it also makes all the lists load faster, of course, if you don't have to load as much information. So what is the Maximizer Wealth Manager? Firstly, you heard me say it was a product that was built by advisors. That's very much true. I worked with a small team of advisors initially, and today I work with a team of advisors that form an advisory council for me, and I have representation from all the major financial services firms in Canada, as well as many of the smaller ones as well. And what that advisory council does is they guide us on what the most important things this product needs that it still doesn't have today. The wealth management product is a cloud-only solution, whether it's your cloud or my cloud. We've never made a Windows version, and we are not supporting a Windows version. I shouldn't say we never. 4 years ago, we did make a version of it, but the majority of the clients that saw the wealth product were inclined to go to the web version of it almost immediately. So I've almost had no one who ever purchased the Windows product. The deployment options are exactly as they were before, as I showed you, right? We either deploy it in your servers in your office, or we deploy it in our data center in Toronto. What makes the wealth manager is really encapsulated in this single slide right here now. With the exception of the household structure and a few structural changes I'm going to mention to you in a few moments, really what the wealth management is a massive configuration that's taking place on top of our base product. And it started with conversations with advisors that said to me, Johnny, you know, there is so much we want to track in the CRM, and we're not experts at working with your CRM. We're not experts at configuring your CRM. We're not experts at building fields and configuring those fields, and then building lists and displaying those lists, and then searching on those fields and building dashboards on those fields, and et cetera, et cetera. And factually, I have 700 teams that now use the wealth management product since it's released, and just shy of 300 of those teams are and were existing Maximizer users that once they saw the Wealth Edition said, I haven't done anything to my Maximizer like you've done to your Maximizer. And if you're going to continue building it out in the ways that you've already shown me that you have built it out, it makes more sense for me to hitch my wagon to your horse, because I'm never going to build it out the way you guys have, because I don't know how. So we started with the custom fields, and the custom fields came, the list of custom fields came from the advisors that said, John, this is what we want to track on all of our clients. And I'll go through some of them with you in a few moments. But you know, of course, it started with everything on a KYC form, every date-based service that you're providing to your clients, every key piece of information from a personal level on each of your clients, where they work and where they bank and how many children they have and the children's birthdays, their anniversaries, their retirement dates. And the list just kept getting bigger and bigger and bigger. And it was very apparent to us soon that we were going to need to group these fields together in such a way that you could actually consume the information. So this is what led us to building out our own key fields or key views of clients. And I've got 7 or 8, maybe 9 of them now in the software. And with my 2017 release, I'm adding a couple more. Having all these fields led us to the necessity of building searches. How do I find the list of clients I'm looking for? And I've collected, you know, all these various different data points on the clients, and now I need to utilize that information to segment my clients. So we built the searches. We built dashboards based on those searches, as you heard me mention before. My dashboards are built on searches, so the more searches I put in, the more dashboards I can ship out of the box. Right? We sat down with the advisors and we asked them, how do you do what you do? How do you open an account? How do you sell an insurance policy? How do you write an insurance policy? How do you refinance a mortgage, or how do you sell a brand new mortgage? And the answers to each of these questions were not single tasks. They were multiple tasks, sometimes involving multiple persons within the firm, and always being done in such a way that it would be repetitive. Like the way an office opens an account, the offices that are standardizing their business, they want to open the account the same way. They want to follow the same 9 steps, 11 steps, whatever they are. So the advisors gave me these processes that are specific to what each and every one of you are doing in your office every single day. And I'll show you those, and I'll show you how they work. We switched the sales module in Maximizer as well. In the Maximizer you're all using today, you have an area called Opportunities. And most advisors I've worked with over the last 5 years have said, you know, John, I don't really use opportunities very often. Sometimes I use them to track new clients when they're coming in. Sometimes I track them to track money. But your terminology is all awkward, and you don't have all the custom fields I need in place to track the money. So if I didn't build out the custom fields at the contact level, why would I ever dream of building out the custom fields at the opportunity level? So the majority of teams never did, but we have now. And I have custom fields to track money in the opportunity module, and I'll show that to you. But what I'm going to track and what I have is insurance policies, GICs, seg funds, mortgages, right? All the standard kind of renewable products that you're providing to your clients today that you need to keep track of because they have an expiry or a maturity or a renewal date. Maximizer, and I should have probably said this a while ago, the Wealth Management Edition, of course, is built on our full CRM. It was not built on the Entrepreneur product. It was built on the main enterprise product, if you will. And that product has always had sales and service. And the service module, again, when first showing it to advisors a number of years ago, the majority of them said to me, and they said, what would I do with this, John? I said, well, you know, when a client calls in and they ask questions, or when a client calls in and they got a problem, you can create a case, because that's what it's called in the software that you use today. And most of them just made funny faces at me and kind of said, you know, I don't think I'll do that, John. I think I'll just write a note against the contact record when they phone and say they asked a question, and whatever instructions I needed to capture, I did so there. And I was showing a client one day how to use our workflows, which we call action plans. And I'd ran an action plan, and all the activities from the action plan lined up under the activity tab against the client record. And the person on the other end of the phone said to me, he says, so how do I know which of those activities belong to which action plan? And I was speechless because I didn't have an answer for him, because I didn't have a column view that would tell him it was action plan A, B, or C. I didn't have an answer. And I said, you're right, they're all mixed up. We're going to need to add a search and a filter in there. And he goes, why don't you go back to that service module you showed me? So I did. And he goes, can I run an action plan against a service, what was called case? And I said, of course you can. And he goes, and if I do that, will all those activities be stored against that case? And I said, yeah. And he goes, well, that's how I would do it, John. So he was bang on. He was ahead of me. We've made some changes around that, and I'll talk about that. And of course, we have mobile access. We have remote access to everything I'm saying. So I'm going to go back through that list now a little bit slower. So a household view is one change that we made. For those of you on any of my versions right now, you know that Maximizer has a structure of companies, and underneath those companies I can have unlimited contacts. And I have individuals, and underneath the individual I can have unlimited contacts. And every time I say that I kind of shrug and go, that's just so weird. And so many of the team members that use the product have said, you know, John, I don't get it. Like, I understand why we needed individuals, but why did you put contacts under individuals? Well, the answer is it's just an engineering answer. It was easier to do it than to not do it. Shockingly, that is the truth. But it was awkward. And in your industry, most of the advisors that I talked to before said, you know, this is goofy, John, because I create John Smith, and he's an individual, and then I create Mary Smith, and I make her an individual, and then I use related entries to relate them as husband and wife. But I had to be toggling back and forth between John and Mary to get the full picture of everything that was going on in the house. God help me if I wanted to record the fact they had Beth or Paul and John as children, right? Because now I needed 4 records as individuals, and I needed to relate them all, which just made no sense. So when we started looking at the Wealth Edition, I said, can I rename individuals? And for those of you that know, we have a label customization tool that allows me to change the labels pretty much everywhere in the software. And I said, I want to call individuals households. Does anybody have a problem with that? And my team looked at me and they go, okay, and what are we going to call contacts? I go, nothing. We're going to have households, and in that households, we're going to have unlimited contacts. And as soon as I showed that to a couple of advisors, they go, what took you guys so long? That's absolutely what we need. We need a household structure where we group all the people that live in that household under one place. You call them contacts. And I can have fields related to each of those people, and I can have notes related to each of those people, and I can see the notes individually, or I can group them together, as you know, through our show all checkboxes. So that's what a single household view is in Maximizer. I changed a couple other terms, and you've heard me slip them in already. We don't call the opportunities right now, we call them accounts. And we don't call the service module client service cases. They're actually called client service plans or service plans, because the advisor community said to me, that's what I do, John. I run service plans. I'm in the service business, and these are plans. They're processes. You'll also see that, as I mentioned before, I changed the name documents to files because I just think it's more appropriately named than what you're storing there. It is any file type against any contact record. And I also changed the name of the company library. I'd wanted to do that for quite some time. A lot of people have said to me over the years, what is a company library, John? And I say, oh, it's a place to keep your office files. And they smile and go, why don't you call it office files? So it is called office files now. And again, these are terminology changes that we propagated through the Wealth Edition that are not in the generic software, if you will. As you heard me say at the outset, what sets the Wealth Edition apart from any other version of Maximizer is that we've put in hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of industry-specific fields. Now, I'm onto the user-defined field tab, which one day will be called custom fields, and you can all applaud when it happens because that's what you all want it to be called. Under those custom fields, we have lots of folders and the hierarchy that you're used to. But again, how could you possibly consume information on hundreds and hundreds of fields on a per client basis through an interface like the one you're looking at? And the answer, of course, is you can't, which was why we created the key field area of the software. Our clients asked us for years to have a place they could create, that they could put their most important fields and make those visible. Well, with the Wealth Edition, of course, I'm going to ship fields grouped based on logical groupings that the advisors help me with. So I've got a grouping of fields called basic fields, right? I've got a grouping of fields called personal. I've got managed assets. I've got income and bank information. I've got one on estate planning. I've got one on financial planning, right? I've got the KYC fields, right? And so you're going to kind of see what I'm up to here. I've moved over to the personal fields, and as advisors said to me, you know, John, I need to remember as much as I possibly can, and everyone else in the office needs to remember everything we know and have ever recorded against every one of our clients, and it needs to be easily recallable. So personal fields are, you know, birthday, children, right? Their current age. You see, we're calculating current age. That's a new feature that's coming out in our upcoming release. Maximizer has always kept a birth date field. Maximizer has never calculated how old those people are for you. Other CRMs have, but we didn't. So now you're going to see that. And you're also going to see we're going to calculate insurance age, which is the plus or minus 6 month after your birthday. So we'll show if you're 47 or 48, depending on where you lie in your birth year. And that helps for insurance calculations, of course. Under basic information, this is less about who the people are as people and more about who they are with their relationship to the firm, right? So how long have they been, what type of record am I looking at? Is this a client? Is it an active client, a deceased client? What's the segmentation? What type of accounts do they have with us? Are we doing tax planning for them? What's their net worth? What's their managed assets? Right? All of these fields only need to be filled in, and once they are, I'm going to start segmenting your clients based on these fields. All of these fields, for the most part, are pick lists. So when this says account type, you didn't type in cash Canadian, you didn't type in margin Canadian. This was a pick list. Every single place in these hundreds and hundreds of custom fields where it made sense for us to build your lists, we built your lists. You're not going to be freeform typing in very much at all in this interface. You're going to be picking from lists of relevant values. A new field that's been given a considerable amount of more exposure, and it's very important for all of what you do, is the last contact date. Right? We've had a field in Maximizer called last contact date, and it was being updated programmatically by the software in very particular situations, such as when you click to make a call, we updated last contact date. We've exposed more of the functionality and behavior around this this field now. And what I mean by that is, as a user, you will be able to choose which actions within Maximizer, when you take them, whether or not they will actually update the last contact date field. Okay, so now you've got user control. When I write a note, it can update it or not. When I make a call, update it or not. When I make an appointment, complete a task, update it or not. And what, on top of this feature, what we've done is we've added, we've added days since last contacted. So it's one thing for me to tell you that it was February 9th, 2016, or 2015, or 2014. Okay, that kind of, it's a little bit sanitized. But if you see days since last contacted, it says 260 days, or 535, or 874. Those numbers mean something to you. They mean you're not servicing your client. Right? What they mean to me as a CRM architect is I can put in searches that are looking for contacts that haven't happened. So start looking for the exception. I know a lot of advisors that have rules, segment A, segment B, segment C, segment D, the number of touches they're going to employ at each level with each of those clients. And there's many advisors that would get rather upset if they saw any of their clients hadn't been talked to in the last 365 days. Right? So by having this field, I can build searches, which of course I have done. Right? And then I can build dashboards, which of course I have done, which now will give you a view into which clients you haven't spoken to and how long. Okay, but all of this again starts by just building the fields to begin with. Upcoming reviews, another super set of important fields here. Date-based, fee-based, right? Next KYC review, next financial plan review, next estate plan review, next insurance needs review, progress, risk management, banking, tax planning. Most of you do some, if not most, of these services for your clients. It is ultra important to know when you're supposed to do it again next, as well as when you did it last. That's a compliance thing, as well as how many days has it been since you did it last. So you're seeing all of that underneath the financial review schedule pick list. Again, I'm just changing my list, my drop down here, and I'm getting volumes and volumes of information on these clients. As I mentioned a few moments ago, what the UDS take me to quite often is the segmentation searches. So the searches themselves are taking me to the intelligence of the system. Right? I have all these fields and I have all these values against these fields, but it's meaningless to me unless I can actually extract it and produce lists based on that information. So the type of searches that we were asked to build right at the outset involved for certainly all the date-based fields, right? So bring me a list of all my clients have a birthday coming up next week or next month. Bring me a list of all my clients that have any of those reviews I just went through coming up in the next month or next quarter. Bring me a list of all my clients that are retiring next month, next quarter, turning 65, turning 71. So those are all good examples of date fields. But what about just bring me a list of all my clients? Bring me a list of all my segment A clients. Bring me a list of all my clients that have an insurance policy or a seg fund or a GIC. All of these are examples of searches that we've built, not just examples of searches you can build, searches we've already built that are just now waiting for you to choose, waiting for you to pin up on your quick access toolbar where you see we've got more in the screenshot. And what also these searches do for you is they serve as a great example on how to build your own search. So my search says, bring me a list of my segment A clients. Maybe your search is, bring me a list of my Seg A clients over 65 or under 65, right? But by me starting that search for you and you being able to save it out yourself and modify it, I've given you a lot of examples and a lot of information on how you can further configure the system. That was one of the biggest complaints we had when I was on the product team, is I didn't ever have enough sample information. And for those of you that know, we did ship small sample files with Maximizer. We shipped a little financial services and a little sales and a little manufacturing, a little high tech. But they didn't have nearly enough. And what enough means is kind of what I'm showing you today, like lots. And the more the merrier, because you don't have to use what's here, and but by having it here, it's a great example of what you can do, and it helps train you to refine and modify what you may want to do inside it. As I said before, the searches are our programming logic to our dashboards. Each one of these graphs, if you will, is called an indicator. Each one of these indicators is built off a single search. So by me having dozens and dozens and dozens of searches, I have all the heavy lifting done for building dashboards. So we've put dashboards in for several reasons for the Wealth Edition. One is for performance and one is for planning. Performance is about how well is the firm doing right now? How many clients do I have? How many clients by segmentation do I have? How many new clients did I bring on this year? How many new clients based on segmentation did I bring on this year? Those would be examples of performance or modifications to my existing performance one, right? And how many clients do I have by each account type? What I find even more important is really around the planning and what, because we've got so many fields that are relevant to what's coming in the future with our clients, it's only natural that I built the searches, and it's only natural that I exposed the search values, because this is answering the #1 question that takes place in an office at any time, is who do I need to do what with next? So imagine coming in and turning Maximizer on and clicking on dashboards and going to one that said upcoming reviews and looking at this dashboard. This is telling me I have one client I need to do a financial plan review on, one that needs an estate plan, and one that has a KYC review coming up. All of our dashboards, if programmed this way, and all of mine are clickable. So when I go on financial plan review 1 and I click on this, this is going to take me to the one client that I need to perform the financial plan for. Okay, so they're clickable, and so what this allows for is what are called click-throughs. Okay, this is a new dashboard that I'm just putting in that'll go in the next release. Bring me a list of my A clients that I haven't talked to in the last 30 days. I'll make this 30, 60, and 90. Bring me a list of my B clients that I haven't talked to in the last 90 and 180 days. Because this is what your business is all about. It's all about service. And you can't not service clients, because when you do not service your clients, they leave you, and they certainly don't refer you. Right? Both of which are paramount to keeping your business and building your business. Business process workflow, how it is you do what you do. This is a drop-down list over on the left-hand side here, and this drop-down list is a list of processes that are taking place inside your business every single day. Right? How do I set up a new mortgage? How do I open up an account? How do I do a trade recommendation? How do I set up a seg fund? How do I transfer or set up electronic fund transfer? How do I do a KYC review? Right? How do I sell a new annuity? How do I do an estate plan? How do I do a tax plan? Right? How do I do preparation for a tax plan? And each one of these, as you can see, I've selected client account opening at the top. They have a number of actions that are going to take place inside the office, anywhere from probably 4 to about 12, different steps that take place for each of you. And these are industry specific, obviously. They're vetted by the advisors. These were given to me by the advisor community. We didn't dream any of these up ourselves, right? So, and we shared them around with advisors so that we had an agreement. And they can be further changed by you. Yes, they're templates. Not only can you change them permanently if you go into my template library, but you can also change them on the fly. So let's say you just want to use an action plan one day and a particular person who's going to be assigned a particular activity isn't in the office. You can reassign that activity to someone else, run the plan, and the template stays intact for the next team to use, but you were able to make a change at runtime. When you run a business process workflow, as I spoke about earlier, I really am a strong proponent of doing so through the service module. And the reason for that, of course, is I want to keep track of all activities for a particular process in a single place. And in Maximizer's Wealth Edition, that's called the service module, and this is what we call a service plan. So I ran that service plan to create a, what was this? I believe it was a mortgage application. I was right. Yes. So these are the steps here for a new mortgage application, right? And you can see every one of these right now is assigned to the administrator. But when you make and work with the Wealth Management Edition, if there's more than one person who's going to perform these functions, you will go in, you'll change your template once. So assigned to is going to say, you know, advisor, advisor, assistant, assistant, advisor, advisor, or John, 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 Mary, Mary, Meredith, Frank, 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 etc. Right? So you're going to know who's going to has to do what. When I talk about the accounts module, right, that's what you know as the sales module. That's what you know as the opportunity module. And you can see very quickly, if I go into my key field view, down in the middle, I have a drop-down list that says Managed Insurance Policies. And here you're going to find all the custom fields in Maximizer for an insurance policy. In that drop-down list, I've also got Managed Seg Funds, GICs, annuities, group insurance policies. So what this is allowing you to do is track the money in the business now. And for many of you, this was something that was asked for in Maximizer. This was something many of you were trying to do in your own custom fields against the contact level. And we're getting frustrated because it was cumbersome. It was not necessarily intuitive for you to build your fields and to organize them and to view them and then to make searches and then to make dashboards. So as I said, the majority of you that have ever spoke to me have said, John, I haven't done hardly any of this. I'm just using Maximizer to keep track of my conversations, right, and my phone numbers, and maybe I scan some documents and save them, and I store my appointments, and I assign tasks to my staff, but really that's the extent of how I use Maximizer. And I think, as I've been showing many of you today, that there's certainly a lot more Maximizer can do for you to help you run your business, not so much you running Maximizer. Our mobile solution continues to support all the changes that I've just been describing to you. So all these extra configurations that you've learned about today in the Wealth Management Edition, they are all fully supported in our mobile product. Our mobile product is device agnostic. We work with all smartphones and tablets. We work through the browsers. We don't synchronize any data to the devices, which is quite important in your industry because, as I've heard from compliance officers, they don't like client information walking out of the office. It's one thing to look it up. It's another thing to make a note. In Maximizer, in fact, pretty much all devices are supporting voice-to-text translation. So when I use my mobile device, I pretty much speak into any field in Maximizer. I speak all my notes in, and they translate to text. I speak my tasks in, they translate to text. Right, so this is a common way. But you can see from the icons here, I am supporting the contacts. I'm supporting the sales module, the service module, your calendar and hot list, your dashboards, company library, and you can see that this screenshot is actually of our generic product. I need to re-screenshot this for the wealth, and the address book is going to say contact list, and opportunity is going to say accounts. Right, and company library is going to say office files. As you would expect, this is a fully functioning CRM. This is not a read-only world where you're just going to go in and see, right, information but not be able to interact with it. Here you're going to be able to create new records if you want. Most people don't, but you're certainly going to be able to speak notes in like I described. You're going to be able to go into a company or a contact record, make a phone call, and then assign a task back to somebody in the office. They're going to receive that task. They're going to get an email notifying them. So all the similar workflow and logic that you find in our regular product, you will find perpetuated or propagated, excuse me, in the mobile product as well. And I am trying to be cognizant of time, and I know I've gone a little bit over here. Our Outlook add-in continues to improve with every single release. It's much nicer to look at with the web product, but it also is considerably more functional. You're seeing here what you're able to do. I can create a new record from an email. I can create a service plan, it's called case here. I can create new tasks, which I do a lot. I receive an email from somebody. I click on create task. It brings me up to a screen. I fill that in. It sends an email to the person telling them about the task. And this task, of course, has gone straight into Maximizer. And the last one I do a lot is also I view contact. So I've received an email from somebody. I need to reach out to them immediately. So I'm one click from view contact to Maximizer. It takes me into Max. It logs me in and takes me directly to the client record. Another nice piece of functionality is where I showed you here, save to Maximizer and save and track. What these mean is I'm able to mark a record once, and every time I ever send that client an email from Maximizer, or excuse me, from Outlook or Maximizer, anytime that client ever sends me an email, a copy of it's going to be saved into Maximizer automatically. That's called save and track. Now, what we also have the capability of doing is, let's say you receive an email from a notary public. It's for a property purchase for one of your clients, and that email you want to save against the notary himself, but you also want to save it against the client that it pertains to. Maximizer allows you to do that. You don't have to save an email you receive directly only to the person that it came from. You can save an email that comes into Outlook against anybody in Maximizer, and it does not even have to be saved to the person it came from. Okay, so that's quite a nice piece of flexibility and quite important to be able to do. This is just allowing you to do a multi-select at the same time when you're searching for contacts and for who you want to save the client record, excuse me, save the email against. Our Word add-in is a requirement for anybody of you that's in Windows. You will see immediately when you come to our web product, we don't have the Maximizer editor anymore. We also don't have the email editor anymore, which was why it was so important for us to have a really, really good Outlook add-in, and why it is so important for us to have a very good Word add-in. So this is our Word toolbar. This is where you're going to interact to create documents, create mailing labels, create envelopes. And we've given you the ability to save your templates now in a template library, which is what you're seeing on this screenshot here. So instead of having those templates buried in against the client record or buried somewhere under a template, select template interface, which wasn't very functional, we've now given you this interface inside Maximizer, which gives you a list of all of the templates. And we're going to continue to build out this area of the software as the prime location to store all templates for all uses in Maximizer. So for those of you that use the Campaign Manager, you know that there's templates there. And if you use our email window, you know there's templates there. We are in the process of moving that capability over into this interface. One other thing I will point out while I'm on this screen is appointment email templates. What appointment email templates are is it gives me the ability now, when an email is sent, excuse me, when I make an appointment with a client, we send an email invitation. I, for quite some time, have been cutting and pasting particular content into that screen. I wanted my auto signature there, for instance. I no longer have to do that. I now can build a template, and every time an email invitation goes out, it's my template. It's my John Easton signature and my picture, etc. And I can also have an email template for the reminder. So when my reminder goes out, because for everybody that ever has an appointment with me, you know you're going to get a reminder. When that reminder goes out, it's personalized now, and it has all my contact information. Advisors and assistants have always asked me for this. They said, John, it's a pain. I need to put my disclaimer in every single email that leaves my desk, and that includes reminders and invitations. So I'm having to cut and paste it in there, and it's time consuming, and I don't like having to do it. So hence the reason why we knew we had to be able to create this area of the software and make it more functional for you. Making the switch, and I've just got a couple of slides left, and if you do have any questions or further questions than the ones that have been entered, you can start entering them now. I will try to stop right at the top of the hour because I do want to be cognizant of everyone's schedule. As far as switching from whichever version of Maximizer you're on to whichever version of Maximizer you want to go to, we have a professional services team. For those of you that ever worked with us already, you're certainly aware of this team and their capabilities. Each one of them has an average of over 10 years of service with us. We do have a variety of upgrade packages. And I get a little bit of a joke here from the marketing team. So there isn't really anything our professional services team hasn't seen, right? And in fact, I have had a call within the last 6 months of somebody that was on our DOS version, and I was shocked. They had a computer that was still running DOS, and it was still running our DOS version, and they said it worked great, and I laughed. So we can move that, and we can move any version of Maximizer, no matter how far back you are. And we perform the upgrades, and we will migrate that. If you're on premise and want to stay on premise, if you want us to upgrade the database, we will. If you want to do that yourself, we have the tools in the box that can do that for you as well. We also have a business partner channel, as many of you are aware, throughout North America. Their average tenure with and relationship with Maximizer now goes over 15 years. They're able to upgrade to either of our cloud solutions, of course, and many of them offer fairly robust training solutions for teams like yourselves that want to have someone come into the office and perform some in-person training. Okay, let's see what we have for questions here. And for those of you that need to go, I will, let me just drop down to my contact screen here as well. If anyone of you would like to reach out to me with any further questions you have my email address on the screen here. Please feel free to do so. All of you will get a copy of a recording of today's session emailed to you, and Niall generally gets that out to everybody within 24 hours. So wanted to take care of that housekeeping for you. Okay, first question. I'm on the Windows version of Maximizer 12. And I have my own custom fields and searches. What happens to them if I upgrade to the Wealth Management Edition? Similar to any other upgrade we perform, anything that you have put into the system, we leave alone. So if you have your custom fields, we're going to leave those alone. If you have your own searches, your own dashboards, your own column setups, which I didn't mention that we have configured, but we have for you, all of that will remain intact, and then we will add on top of it all of the wealth elements, all the wealth configuration elements that I've been going through with you today. What is the price of upgrade? That's well, I guess an easy and a hard question. We have various prices. Our cloud solution is a subscription product. We have a number of specials on right at this time. For those of you that are interested in pricing information, I would ask maybe just write to me directly, and I'll have one of the account managers reach out to you. As I said, we do have a number of specials, and they're different depending on which version of Maximizer you're coming from and whether or not you're staying on premise or going into our cloud. And of course, prices are different if you're coming to the Wealth Edition or not. So yeah, good question, and the best way to get the answer would be to reach out to us directly. Oh, data storage. Is there a limit to the amount of data I'm allowed in your cloud? No, there is not. Well, actually, I shouldn't say that. Yes, there is. 75 gigs. Right now I've got, and the reason I said no there's not, or I should have just said not one you'll ever hit. I have an office who has been using Maximizer 12 years. They call themselves a paperless office, so every file, every signed document from a client, every review form, everything is scanned and saved against the client record, every single email that's ever been exchanged, all appointments, all tasks, all correspondence notes. He's got 30 gigs. He's got 1,000 clients, and as I said, that's 12 years of intensive record keeping, and he's not even halfway. So we're not Microsoft, we're not trying to make money on storage, we're not Salesforce, we're not trying to make money on storage, and we're not trying to make money on add-ins, right? Outlook, Word, mobile, right? We just want to provide a completely robust, holistic solution that's giving you that 360-degree client view, all for one nice price. And as I said before, storage is not something that we've ever wanted to try to make money on. So we're an industry leader in that. There isn't anybody that I'm aware of that's giving more data right now. Yeah, good question. Thank you. Let me just look and see what else is here. Oh, how do I upgrade? The upgrade process, and this person's asking about how do they go to the cloud, and will they be down? Really, the way it works is on the day that you want to be moved, whatever day we both agree on that we're going to do that, we'll call into your office and we'll make a backup. We like to do this, if possible, on a Friday, but we'll do it anytime you want, any day of the week. Once we've made a backup, you can continue to use your system, but use it in a read-only way, right? So it's all there, your appointments are there, everything is going to be fully intact, but any change you make to the system, of course, we're not going to have a copy of because we've already taken a copy of your database. It generally takes us 1 day, that's about all, to go through the entire process of taking a backup and then upgrading it to our latest version, converting it over to the Wealth Edition if that's what you're choosing to do, and then upgrading it to our cloud. And so we generally perform that within 24 hours. So during that time, as I said, you're kind of in a blackout period. You've got access to your CRM, all your client information is there. Any notes that you need to record, we just say, build a Word document, store everything for 1 day in a Word document, and cut and paste it into Maximizer once we get you live in the cloud. Once we do get you live, every one of our customers gets a free onboarding orientation session, which lasts about an hour. We walk you through how to get the Outlook and the Word integrations installed, which is very straightforward, and we do it with you and for you. We walk you around the software, we show you where your client information is, we show you kind of a higher level, kind of a day in the life of an advisor, a day in the life of an advisor's assistant, and then we give you access to our regular training sessions. We're running free training for all of our clients now, both wealth and non-wealth version. We put on 3 sessions a week, basic, intermediate, and advanced. As I said, these are free, and anyone in your office can come to these as many times as they want. Okay. We also, in various areas of the software now, have quite a bit of online help as well. And I just wanted to get to a screenshot page where I can show you what I'm looking for here. So everywhere in Maximizer, on every single screen, I apologize for banging around here on you, you're going to see a little question mark icon, and you're also going to see in many screens a little video icon. When you press the video icon, you're going to be taken to one of the different 20 videos that we've put together, and these are all brand new because they're working on our new version, that describe how to do one particular thing in Maximizer, how to make an account, how to make a key field grouping, how to make a custom field, how to build a search, how to build a dashboard, how to make an appointment, how to make a task. Right? So these are all in there as videos. You can actually click on video tutorials on the far right-hand side where I've moved the mouse, and that will take you to our YouTube channel and give you a list of all the videos as well. We also have this little question mark icon, which I started talking about, which is our context-sensitive help. And this will bring up a help screen that's relevant to whatever screen you're on. So if you're in the appointment dialog, you click on the question mark, you're getting help on the appointments. You're in the in the hot list window, you're going to get hot lists. Right? So, and every single screen in Maximizer has help. So this is, of course, meant to help ease your transition. I don't see any other new questions at this time. I'm just checking one more time. So I think I'm going to cut us off here. I apologize for going a little bit over. I do want to thank everyone for giving me an hour of your day. I very much appreciate it. As I mentioned before, if you do have any questions, let's get down to my last screen again. Sorry for blinding you. Please feel free to send me an email at any time. And as I mentioned before, Niall will be sending out a copy of this recording within the next 24 hours. So I hope you all have a great day, and I look forward to speaking to you again soon. Thank you, and goodbye.